Virelli stood quietly inside her spacecraft, looking at the screen in front of her. The blue planet called Earth slowly came into view. She had trained for this mission for many years. Now, it was finally happening. She was alone on her first research journey to study humans and their environment. Her people, the Zintharians, believed Earth held many secrets. Her job was to observe, collect, and report. The ship moved gently through Earth's atmosphere. Virelli's three-fingered hand pressed a button, and a soft voice spoke in her language. Landing sequence beginning. Estimated touchdown, 4 minutes. She took a deep breath, her heart beating faster than usual. She had read hundreds of reports, seen thousands of images, but none of them could compare to being here. Her ship landed in a dense, green forest. Trees stood tall and silent, their leaves moving slightly in the wind. Virelli put on her disguise, a human-like appearance made possible by a special skin cover and hair unit. Her eyes adjusted to appear blue, and her skin tone was changed to match local humans. She now looked like a young woman in her 20s, though she was far older in Zintharian years. She stepped out of her ship for the first time, her boots sinking slightly into the soft ground. The air was fresh and cool. Birds chirped above her, and in the distance, water flowed. She paused and smiled. This world was more alive than she had imagined. She carried a scanner in one hand and a small sample case in the other. As she walked through the trees, she noticed strange objects on the ground. There were shiny wrappers, colorful bags, and strange round bottles with brown liquid inside. Some were crushed, and others were half full. The area looked like someone had recently been there. Curious, she bent down and picked up one of the bottles. A thick brown liquid spilled onto her fingers. It was sweet-smelling, fizzy, and sticky. She blinked and stared at it. The substance clung to her skin. She tried shaking it off, but it only spread more. Confused, she looked at her scanner. It showed sugar, carbon dioxide, and artificial coloring. Nothing dangerous, but extremely sticky. She stood up and wiped her hand on a nearby leaf, but the stickiness remained. It was unlike anything she had felt before. On Zinthar, everything was smooth, dry, or clean. Sticky textures didn't exist. This was new and slightly uncomfortable. She pulled out her translator and whispered, "It's all sticky now. Is that normal?" Her voice was quiet, but her translator recorded the question into her data log for study. She walked on, trying to collect more clues. She found a melted candy bar, its chocolate soft and warm. More stickiness. She touched it carefully with her glove, then placed it inside her sample case. Nearby, she spotted a small fire pit, now cold, and a few chairs made from plastic and metal. A folded tent leaned against a tree. She realized this had been a human campsite. Maybe they had left in a hurry or planned to return. She sat on a rock and looked at the items she had collected. The soda bottle, a red and white candy wrapper, a piece of sticky gum, and a napkin stuck to her scanner. She stared at her hands again, still sticky. She didn't know what these things meant yet, but they had to be important. Why would humans carry such items if they didn't serve a purpose? She turned on her communicator and began recording her thoughts. Day 1 on Earth. I have landed safely in a green, wooded area. I have found remains of human activity. Many objects are made with bright colors and soft textures. The most surprising discovery is the sticky material on several items. My hypothesis, this stickiness, is either a warning or a bonding tool. Further observation needed. Just then, she heard a sound. Footsteps. Her head turned sharply toward the noise. Someone was walking in the distance. She quickly stepped behind a tree and waited. A young human boy appeared carrying a fishing rod. He was whistling and didn't notice her. She watched carefully from behind the leaves. He reached the river, dropped his backpack, and cast his line into the water. He pulled out a snack from his bag, a small bag of gummy candy. Virelli observed as he chewed happily. Then he wiped his sticky hands on his pants and continued fishing. She blinked again. He didn't seem bothered by the stickiness. In fact, he seemed to enjoy the treat. This was unusual. Maybe stickiness wasn't something negative after all. She returned to her ship quietly after sunset. Inside, she cleaned her hands, though the feeling of stickiness still remained in her memory. She sat at her desk and reviewed her samples under a small microscope. Sugar crystals, syrup remains, and some chemical flavorings. Nothing dangerous, but very unusual. She closed her eyes and replayed the scene of the boy fishing. He had smiled. He had enjoyed the snack, and the sticky hands didn't bother him at all. Slowly, a new thought formed in her mind. Maybe stickiness means enjoyment? She paused. It sounded strange. But on this planet, anything could be true. She updated her research log before resting. Observation log. Earth Day. 1. Stickiness found in many human-used items. Human interaction with sticky objects appears casual and joyful. No sign of danger. Theory. Sticky materials may relate to emotional or social behaviors. We'll continue to observe. She placed her tools back in their place and looked out of the small window in her ship. The stars were beginning to appear in the night sky. The Earth was confusing, yes, but it was also full of surprises. And for now, Virelli was just getting started. The next morning, sunlight gently touched the top of the trees as birds began to sing. Virelli stood near her ship, holding her scanner and sample bag. Her thoughts still circled around the sticky substances she had found the day before. She hadn't expected to feel confused so early in her mission. Earth was supposed to be strange, but she hadn't imagined sticky soda and melted candy would become her biggest mystery. She decided to explore farther from the forest and find humans in their natural environment. She changed into clean clothes, ordinary human clothes she had prepared in advance, and wore a hat to hide her bright alien-like eyes. Her translator was now hidden in a bracelet on her wrist. With one last check of her disguise, she started, walking toward the small town she had located on her ship's map. As she got closer to the town, the trees thinned out. She began to see houses, roads, and small buildings. A group of children passed by her, laughing and running. One boy held a red stick in his hand, licking it happily. Virelli stared. The bright red candy was making his fingers and lips sticky, but he didn't seem to care. In fact, he looked delighted. She followed the children from a distance and found herself near a small store. There were shelves full of colorful boxes, drinks in clear bottles, and shiny packages. Everything looked playful and exciting. She walked in, pretending to browse. A woman behind the counter gave her a friendly smile. "Can I help you?" she asked. Virelli blinked. "Just looking," she said carefully. Her translator picked the right words, but her voice still sounded unsure. She picked up a round orange lollipop. It felt sticky right through the plastic. Wrapping. She also found bottles of sweet drinks, small cakes, and chewing gum. It was clear. Earth humans liked sweet, sticky things. Her question from yesterday came back again. Is that normal? She bought a small bottle of cola, using the local money her mission team had prepared. Then she left the store and walked down the road, holding the bottle tightly. She didn't want to drink it yet. She wanted to observe more. Soon, she found a small park. There were benches, flowers, and a playground filled with laughing children. She sat on a bench and opened the bottle. The drink made a loud hiss as bubbles rose to the top. She took a small sip. The taste was strange, sharp, sweet, and fizzy. It made her eyes widen. She wasn't sure if she liked it. Then, without meaning, she spilled a little on her hand. The sticky feeling returned. She wiped her hand on her jeans, but the stickiness stayed. As she sat there, trying to decide if she liked the drink or not, someone spoke. "You okay?" Virelli looked up. A teenage boy stood nearby, holding a skateboard under one arm and a can of soda in the other. He had messy brown hair and a kind smile. She nodded slowly. "Yes, just testing this," the boy laughed. "You mean soda? You've never had it before?" Varelli paused, choosing her words carefully. "Not like this. It is sticky." He sat down on the edge of the bench. "Yeah, that happens, especially if you spill it. Happens to me all the time." She looked at him, curious. "And that is normal?" "Pretty much," he said, grinning. "Sticky fingers are just part of the fun, I guess." She blinked, quietly repeating his words to herself. Part of the fun. He noticed her careful way of speaking. "You're not from around here, are you?" She shook her head. "I come from very far away." "I'm Caleb," he said, offering his hand. Varelli hesitated, then shook it. His hand was warm, real, and thankfully not sticky. "I am Varelli." "That's a cool name." "You visiting family?" She smiled faintly. "No, I am observing." She quickly added, "I like to learn new things." "Cool," Caleb said. "You should come to the fair this weekend. There's food, games, cotton candy. Everything's sticky." She tilted her head. "Cotton candy?" "It's sugar spun into a cloud," he explained. "Melts in your mouth but sticks to everything else." That caught her attention immediately. "Would you show me?" she asked. "Sure," he said. "But I gotta go now. Meet me here tomorrow around the same time?" Varelli nodded. "Yes, I will." As Caleb walked away, she felt something new inside. Her. A small sense of excitement. Someone had spoken to her, a real human, and he had answered her question about the stickiness, without even knowing how important it was to her. She returned to the forest later that evening, thinking about Caleb, soda, and cotton candy. In her ship, she sat down and opened her log. Earth. Day 2, she recorded. I entered a small human village. Humans enjoy consuming sweet, sticky items. I met a local male named Caleb. He explained that stickiness is part of the fun. This suggests that sticky substances are not only accepted, but welcomed. Social bonding may include sharing sticky food. She paused and looked at her sticky jeans. She didn't clean them just yet. She wanted to remember how it felt. Because for the first time since landing, she felt like she was starting to understand Earth, not just with her tools, but with her senses. And perhaps, through a boy named Caleb, she would learn even more. The next day, Varelli returned to the park, just like she had promised. She wore the same jeans with the sticky spot on them. Something about keeping it there made her feel more connected to what she was learning. Earth was different, yes, but it was growing on her. She waited near the same bench under the big tree. Birds flew overhead. Children played nearby. The air was warm and smelled like popcorn from a nearby food cart. Then she saw him, Caleb, rolling up on his skateboard. He waved when he saw her, and she gave a small wave back. "Right on time," Caleb said, smiling as he stopped beside her. "Ready to see what real Earth fun looks like?" Varelli stood up. "Yes, I am ready." Caleb laughed. "You're so formal." "Don't worry, we'll fix that." They walked together toward the fairgrounds at the edge of the town. Varelli had seen lights and sounds from the place the night before, but hadn't gone close. Now, as she entered through the gates beside Caleb, her eyes widened. There were colorful booths everywhere. Rides spun in circles. Children laughed. Music played loudly, and sweet smells filled the air. "This is a local fair," Caleb explained. "It comes here every summer. People eat too much and go home dizzy." Varelli nodded, her eyes scanning every detail. Her scanner, hidden in her bracelet, silently collected samples of air particles, sound waves, and heat patterns. But she ignored the data for now. She wanted to see everything with her own eyes. Caleb led her straight to a booth covered in pink and blue swirls. "Cotton candy," he said proudly. The machine spun quickly as a woman used a paper cone to collect a cloud of soft sugar. It looked like magic. Varelli leaned in. "It looks like smoke. It tastes like sugar clouds," Caleb said. "Here, try." He bought two, one for each of them. Varelli took hers carefully. It was light, soft, and stuck to her fingers immediately. She took a small bite. It melted instantly in her mouth. Her eyes widened. "It disappears!" Caleb laughed. "Yeah, but not on your hands." She looked down. Her fingers were already sticky. The pink sugar had spread to her knuckles. She tried to wipe it on the napkin, but it only got worse. "This," she said softly, "is very sticky." "And that," Caleb replied, "is totally normal." They found a bench nearby and sat down to finish the cotton candy. Children ran, past them holding balloons. Somewhere nearby, someone won a stuffed bear and cheered. A teenage couple shared a slushie and giggled under a tree. "Do all humans enjoy stickiness?" Varelli asked. Caleb looked at her, surprised by the question. "I mean, not all the time, but when it's fun, like at fairs or parties, yeah, we don't mind." She thought about that. "So, stickiness is part of shared enjoyment?" He nodded. "Exactly. You don't worry about mess when you're having fun." Varelli smiled softly. That made sense now. On Zinthar, everything was clean and exact. Emotions were quiet. Logic was respected. But here, in this loud, colorful place, people showed happiness through messiness, through laughter and sweet stickiness. Later, they visited other booths. Caleb won her a small keychain from a ring toss game. She tried funnel cake next, another sweet food covered in sugar, sticky again. But this time, she didn't mind. They sat on the grass after sunset. The sky turned orange and lights from the rides lit up the fairgrounds. Caleb looked up at the stars. "So what are you really doing here, Varelli? You never said." She paused. She had practiced this question many times, but this was the first time she didn't want to lie. "I am learning," she said honestly. "About people, about Earth. I want to understand things, not just with machines, but by feeling them." Caleb nodded slowly. "That's cool. You don't talk like other people, but it's kind of awesome." She looked at her hands, still slightly sticky from the food. "This helps me understand." Caleb smiled. "If sticky hands help you understand Earth, you're off to a great start." She laughed softly. Her voice was quiet, but full of warmth. As they walked back toward the edge of the town, Varelli realized something surprising. She felt comfortable here. Not just with the environment, but with Caleb. She didn't feel like a stranger anymore. She felt connected. Back at the forest, under the stars, she entered her ship and sat at her small desk. She opened her log and began to speak into her translator. Earth. Day 3. I visited a human fair. It is a place of shared food, games, sound, and laughter. Sticky substances are common: cotton candy, sweet cakes, syrupy drinks. But they are not feared. In fact, they are connected to joy. Stickiness is not a warning. It is a symbol of emotional comfort and connection. She paused. I met Caleb again. He guided me. He showed kindness without asking anything in return. He is patient. I believe he is helping me not just understand Earth, but feel it. She turned off the recorder and looked at the small cotton candy wrapper in her hand. It stuck to her fingers one last time. And for the first time, she didn't try to wipe it away. The fair had ended 2 days ago, but the memories stayed fresh in Varelli's mind. Her hands had stayed sticky that night until she returned to her ship and cleaned them with water and special foam. Yet for some reason, part of her missed the feeling. It reminded her of the laughter, the colors, and the way Caleb had looked at her, not with suspicion but with friendship. Now she walked slowly through the town streets, wearing her hoodie and cap again. People passed by holding coffee cups, grocery bags, and phones. It was a normal day for them, but to Varelli, every moment still felt new. She was seeing everything with alien eyes, but her heart no longer felt like it was on the outside. It felt part of the world. Caleb had texted her that morning. He had taught her how to use a phone. He invited her to help at a charity event near the school. "Just a small job," he'd said, "but it'll be fun. And yes, there's sticky food." She smiled at the message before tucking the phone into her pocket. As she approached the school grounds, she could already see tables being set up. People were arranging chairs, hanging signs, and organizing snacks. "There she is!" Caleb waved from across the yard. He wore a red t-shirt and was holding a tray of cups. Varelli jogged over. "What do I do?" "You can help at the snack table," he said. "They need someone to refill the cotton candy machine." Her eyes widened. "More cotton candy?" "Yep. Sticky work." "Hope you're ready." She walked to the snack booth and met a kind woman named Mrs. Howard, who showed her how the machine worked. It spun quickly, and as the sugar melted and stretched into threads, Varelli had to twist paper cones through it to catch the pink cloud. But the heat and sugar made her gloves damp, and soon her fingers were covered in sticky strings. She kept working, even though it was messy. More children arrived, asking for bigger and bigger cones. Varelli handed them out carefully, smiling each time. But suddenly, as she reached for a new paper cone, her hand got stuck to the machine's spinning edge. A piece of melted sugar flew upward and hit her bracelet. The translator buzzed. Varelli pulled her hand back, alarmed. Her wrist device blinked red. Something was wrong. Static filled her ear. For a few seconds, she couldn't hear the words people were saying around her. Her eyes blinked fast, trying to reset her focus. Everything felt fuzzy. "Hey, you okay?" Caleb had appeared beside her. She tried to speak, but the words didn't come out right. Sugary. Trans. Caleb guided her away from the table. "It's all right. You look like you need air." He brought her behind the school building, where it was quiet and shady. "Take deep breaths," he said. She did. Slowly, her vision cleared. Her translator restarted. The buzzing stopped. "I'm sorry," she said softly. My bracelet stopped working for a moment." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "Your bracelet?" Varelli looked at him. It was time. She couldn't hide anymore. "Not from him." "I'm not from here, Caleb." He looked confused. "You mean, like out of town?" She shook her head. "I mean, not from this planet." There was silence. Then Caleb laughed. "Wait, you're serious?" She nodded. He stared at her face. "Like space? Alien kind of not from here?" "Yes." He sat down slowly on the bench nearby. "Wow." "I didn't want to lie to you," she said. "But I had to observe Earth as part of my study. I wasn't supposed to talk to anyone. But then I met you." Caleb didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, "That actually explains a lot." She blinked. "You believe me?" "I mean, you're weird but in a cool way," he said. "And the way you talk, and the way you study things. Yeah, I believe you. You're not dangerous, are you?" "No," she said quickly. "I just want to understand. That's all." He smiled. "Well, I've never had an alien friend." Before, her eyes lit up. "Friend? Of course," Caleb said. "You think I'd dump you just because you're not from Earth? That would make me a terrible Earthling." Varelli laughed, and for the first time it didn't sound uncertain. It sounded joyful. They sat together for a while, watching the sky. Turn orange as the sun began to lower. You should keep helping people, Caleb said. That's how you'll really understand Earth. Not just with your machines, with your heart. I think you are right, Varelli said. My people believe in science, but now I believe in kindness too. She looked at her sticky hands and smiled. Later that night, back in her ship, she didn't clean the stickiness right away. She sat with her hands resting on her table and recorded her thoughts. Earth Day 4. My translator broke today due to sugar exposure. A human named Caleb helped me. I told him the truth. He believed me. He is now my first true friend on this planet. I have learned that sticky things may not just represent fun, but also moments of truth. Moments when something connects two beings. She looked outside her window. The air was warm, the people were kind, and today, I was not just an alien visitor. I was part of something. I was human, in a small way. Then, smiling to herself, she turned off the recorder, and, for the first time, she didn't feel alone. The stars above the forest were quiet and bright. Inside her small ship, Varelli stood beside the control panel, watching as her final data logs uploaded. It had been 2 full weeks on Earth. Her mission was complete. She had collected samples, observed behaviors, and taken thousands of notes. But none of that compared to what she had truly discovered: feelings, friendship, and the meaning behind small, sticky moments. Tomorrow at dawn, she would leave. She walked outside the ship and looked up. The sky was clear. A soft wind moved through the trees. Her bag was already packed, filled with soil samples, wrappers, pieces of candy, and even a melted cotton candy cone she had sealed in a special case. But she had also packed something else, something she hadn't planned. She had packed her memories. She walked through the forest toward the town one last time. Caleb had asked her to meet him before she left. He didn't know she would be gone forever. She hadn't told him yet. Somehow, saying it out loud felt harder than anything else she had done on this planet. When she reached the edge of town, she found him waiting on the same bench where they had first shared soda. He had 2 bottles in his hands. When he saw her, he smiled. "Hey, explorer," he said. "I got your favorite drink." Varelli smiled back. "The sticky one." They sat quietly for a moment, sipping their sodas. The bubbles made her nose tickle. It still tasted strange, but now familiar, comfortable. "I have to go," she said softly. Caleb looked at her. "Like, go home?" She nodded. "Tonight, my ship is ready. The mission is complete." His smile faded just a little. "I figured this day would come. I wanted to tell you earlier," she said, "but I wasn't ready." "It's okay," Caleb said. "I'm glad you told me now." She looked at the bottle in her hand. The soda had spilled a little, and now her fingers were sticky again. She didn't even try to wipe it away. "I came here to learn," she said, "but I didn't expect to feel something too." Caleb nodded. "Sometimes the best discoveries aren't the ones we plan." They sat in silence for a while. The sounds of the town echoed gently in the background. Footsteps, distant laughter, a dog barking. It all felt more alive now than it had the first time she heard it. "I left something for you," she said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small, round object. It was smooth and glowing faintly blue. Caleb took it. "What is it?" "It's a memory stone," she explained. "It stores feelings, not pictures or sound, just the way a moment feels. You can touch it any time and remember how this day felt." Caleb looked at the stone for a long moment, then slipped it into his jacket pocket. "Thanks, Varelli. I'll keep it forever." "I'll remember you," she said. "Not just as part of my report, but as someone who helped me see the truth." He smiled. "About what?" That stickiness, she said, holding up her hands, is more than just a texture. It's a sign that you've touched something real, something worth remembering. It means you were here. Caleb chuckled. So Earth taught you something sticky is something special. Yes, she said. On Zinthar, we try to stay clean, precise, and perfect. But here, being sticky means you lived. Caleb stood up. Want me to walk you back? No, she said gently. You should stay. This is your world. He hesitated, then gave her a quick hug. Goodbye, Space Girl. Goodbye, Earth. Friend, she whispered. She turned and walked back through the trees. The path was quiet. The wind moved gently, and the moon began to rise. When she reached the ship, she paused at the door. One last time, she looked back at the world she had come to know. It had surprised her, confused her, and finally, changed her. She stepped inside. The doors closed softly. The ship hummed to life. She took her seat and looked at the console. The final log was waiting to be recorded. She pressed the button. Final entry, Earth mission complete. Data collected, observations stored, but most importantly, emotions experienced. The human world is not just logical or clean. It is full of strange, warm, sticky moments. And they are not flaws. They are treasures. She paused, then added, I met someone named Caleb. He showed me what it means to connect, to share, and to belong. The stickiness on my hands was not a mistake. It was a memory, a mark that I was here, that I laughed, learned, and loved something unexpected. The ship rose slowly into the sky, lifting above the trees. Below, the lights of the town twinkled. Somewhere, a boy sat holding a glowing blue stone, smiling quietly to himself. As the ship broke through the clouds, Vareli looked down one last time. Her hands were still sticky, and for the first time in her life, she didn't want to wash it away.